full.
Morning, everyone, and welcome to the Ways and Means Committee of the Senate. It being 10 o'clock or shortly thereafter, I wish you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll commence our business. Gary, if you lead.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will open this hearing of the Ways and Means Committee, and I take a motion to go into executive session.
Second?
Okay, moved by D'Alessandro, second by Hennessy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, now in executive session. First bill we're going to take up is going to be Senate Bill 314 FN, relative to modified risk tobacco products. Is there a motion?
Move interim study, Mr.
Interim
Chair.
study, is there a second? Second by Rosenwald. Any discussion? Hearing none? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Interim study. Who wants to take that out?
I'll take it on this
All right.
one.
Well, Hennessy's got it. Where is it? Yeah, okay, thank you. Next bill. Senate Bill 379 FN, establishing the Solid Waste Management Fund and establishing a solid waste disposal surcharge. Is there a motion?
I move ought to pass.
Okay, ought to pass by Hennessy. Is there a second? Okay.
I don't know,
Otherwise, good.
there was an amendment to mention, so I don't know if you would take that as a second motion, or if you meant what to
I meant to move an amendment once we move. I'm sorry.
This is the water's amendment 0427S. Is that?
If that's a motion, I'll second it.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I move amendment 0427S.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Rosenwald, and is there a discussion? Very brief discussion. All right. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The amendment carries. Now, we have motion of ought to pass as amended.
Move on to pass as amended.
Second by Hennessy. Any discussion?
Yeah, I thought the amendment makes the bill a go. And Waters brought it forth. I mean, made an adjustment, obviously, and it looks as if it looks as if the adjustment is acceptable across the board.
Senator Rosenwald.
Thank you. I have a note from the public hearing that there was a suggestion for a further small change in the proposed amendment on page 2, line 5, that we would add the phrase, "but shall only be," before the word used, to make sure that the fund was only used for the stated purpose.
So I would phrase it perhaps as such funds when received
May be deposited into the fund,
and shall
comma,
be.
but shall only be used.
Okay, so the emphasis is on shall be used for the purposes described in this chapter.
Right.
Do we want to leave the option open that the funds may not necessarily be deposited into the fund? Or do we want to ensure that those funds go into that fund?
I thought there was a question about that at the hearing, and I thought we were told that some of the money might not be allowed to go into the fund first, but maybe someone is here from, is it, oh, Sonia has a hearing report in front of her. 7. Not sure I have the hearing.
Okay, there we go. Line 5 of page.
With regard to the
Yes.
shall versus, oh, right. The reason may is because they don't exactly what that grant program will look like from the EPA. It could be applicable to different things. It might not be appropriate to put all the STAG funds we would receive into this fund. There might be some for purposes not related to this fund.
Right.
Thank you, Sonia.
So,
So do we want the shall for the purposes?
Yeah,
To me, that would make sense.
it makes sense to me too. It makes sense to leave the may in the first part of the sentence, but to
Right.
restrict it to shall in this, in
shall be
how
used for
it's
the purposes
used.
described, yeah.
Okay,
I don't know if Representative.
so committee amendment then would be add shall be before the used on line 5 of page 2,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Senator Daniels?
Thank you. One concern I have about this is, I mean, we're looking at an appropriation, ongoing appropriation of $500,000. When we're starting to fund the local communities at a certain amount, those local communities suddenly become beholden to the state. And if the state ever decided to back off from that 500,000, then you leave a fiscal cliff at the local community. That, you know, now they're gonna be back to the state begging for the money that they used to have. I think the question had asked before, and I'm not sure if we ever got an answer, you know, can the localities apply for EPA funds directly? And I don't recall if we ever got a question on that. I mean, excuse me.
Yeah, response.
answer.
Okay. Further,
If we did not get an answer, I mean, I certainly could not vote for this, knowing that the localities could go and do the same thing that they're asking the state to supply now, but I think it puts the localities at a disadvantage.
so Mike Wimsatt, in his testimony, said he does not take a position on the appropriation.
He might have been talking about the bill as it was first.
No, it's as amended. He said he's speaking to the amendment.
Oh, okay, I don't have,
So my take on the bill is that the 500,000 is just kind of like seed money to get it started. And so if we were to remove that, we'd still have the fund, and when the federal funds come through, they would be able to fund the program in accordance with DES. And if DES has said they don't take a position on the money as far as the appropriation, so, but they do support the policy matters. It does create a grant program, and I think that might be a good compromise. Senator Daniels, could you go with that?
I would support the bill if we remove section 6, yes.
All right, is there a motion?
take the 500,000
Sorry, I didn't have the mic on. I said I would support the bill if we removed section 6, which is the appropriation.
And I'm comfortable with that because, again, WIMSAT said they don't have a position on the appropriation. They want to get the fund established so we can start getting the federal money in.
Okay.
That also addresses Senator Daniel's concern about making the towns dependent on the state as opposed to the federal grant process. Senator Roosevelt.
Also, we haven't really talked about it, but it repeals this existing surcharge on the out-of-state waste, which we heard was determined to be unconstitutional. So we really need to do this. And, so I probably could support taking out the appropriation.
You say you could?
Good.
Okay,
I mean, because
right.
we could always put it back next year in the budget. Seems like the policy is good.
That budget's gonna get big.
That's why we're doing this.
The budget's gonna. Well, he
Right,
does,
so-
Winston did say he takes no position with regard to the appropriation. He wants, but they support.
wants-
it.
yeah, he wants
They want the
policy,
amendment, right. So, how do you create a grant program with no money?
Well, because federal money's on the way.
Uh,
All right, so do we want a committee amendment to remove, to strike section 6?
Strike the appropriation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are all members comfortable with that? All right, then we can
Yeah.
vote on it if necessary.
Right.
All right, everyone's good with it? All right, so strike section 6. That'll be a committee amendment along with the shall be up on line 5. Sonia, you've got all that? Of course you've got all that.
Right.
All right, so as amended then, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Sure.
Will this not go to finance now?
I would say that would be true.
But you can do the FN report with it, right?
Well,
There's no
we'll leave it on
appropriation.
the
Right, right,
Right.
right.
No,
It's got an FN, Gary will FN report, he'll waive it. Right,
but you'll waive it now?
Right,
Yeah,
Yeah, sure. Right.
okay,
that was the vote on the amendment.
right,
We haven't
Right.
voted on the bill.
on the OTPA, right.
You had voted on the amendment already, and then you made that additional change.
Right.
So I guess Senator Daniels is probably right. We should count that last vote as an updated vote on the amendment, if everyone's okay with that, and now do one more.
Okay, so I'll accept an OTPA.
Move the bill as amended.
Senator Daniels moves, second by Rosenwald. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. No, none opposed. Okay,
You do need a vote, though.
all right.
I'll second consent.
Okay, who moves consent?
I did.
Okay. All right. And Hennessy's got that. All right.
Need to vote on consent.
Vote.
Okay, on consent, thank you. Fast morning. All in favor of consent?
For which?
For 379?
That's it.
That's the one we just, no, that's the one we just did on.
On to pass as amended.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all in favor of consent, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that goes on consent.
And I'll also move SB 314 for
All right,
consent.
314 for consent, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's 2. We'll next go to Senate Bill 437, local. Relative to the additional municipal fee for transportation improvements. Is there a motion? Ought to pass by Senator Rosenwald. Is there a second? Second by Senator D'Alessandro. Discussion.
It's optional.
Senator Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As written, I will be voting against this. I know one of the questions we had we're unsure if the local legislative body would be voting on it, or if it was the governing body that would be voting it in. But regardless of which entity it would be, I mean, this is for transportation infrastructure, which affects all citizens of a city or town. But yet, if somebody changes and now they make the maximum at $15, or whoever is going to set that rate, that's going to be paid for through vehicle registrations. And therefore, it would only be paid for by those with vehicles, while those that don't have vehicles but still have the benefits of sidewalks and roads, things like that, would not have to pay. And I'll say that in Milford, we recognize that the money that we're putting in the budget for roads is really not enough to keep it consistent and keep up with the roads. So we put an extra warrant article in, maybe $300,000-400,000, and put that before the voters each year to see if they would approve that. And that's how we determine if they feel that they've got the ability to pay for extra infrastructure or not. And sometimes it passes and sometimes it doesn't. But at least it gives an opportunity for them to determine from year to year what their financial ability is to keep up with that. So where there is another avenue that I think can be used to determine what amounts could be going into the infrastructure, then I don't see the need in adding an additional tax. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
For discussion.
Well, thank you. This fee was initiated 25 years ago. We've had some inflation over the last 25 years. The money goes to support local activity. And certainly, in my community, they use it for they use it for the parking situation. But the potholes are just enormous. The roads, look at the roads. The municipal roads are in terrible shape. And if this will help to some extent to improve that, it just makes sense to me to do it. And that's my comment. That's all.
Senator Rosenwald.
Thank you. I know that the Municipal Association testified, but I had a follow-up conversation with the mayor of Nashua because Nashua doesn't participate in this program, so I called him to get his thoughts on why. And what he said was that he thought, as had mayors before him, that at $5 it wouldn't probably raise enough money for a city the size of Nashua with the scope of the projects we have to make it worth having to do all the changes necessary. But he thought if we could do a higher fee, that the city would take another look at whether it would, because it would generate then over $1 million a year, and that would be significant for them. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Daniels.
Thank you. So I guess I would pose a question to the senators from Nashua and Manchester. If you recognize that you need an extra $1 million, $2 million, $3 million to fix potholes, to fix roads, to fix sidewalks, what is stopping the city councils from putting that in the budget?
Well,
Well,
and Nashua has been hit by some actions by the state that have decreased state assistance, specifically the biggest of which I think is in the recalculation of the retirement system funding, but they lowered the investment return.
Yeah.
And that's costing the city something like $5 million a year. So I think that the Board of Aldermen is very reluctant to raise property taxes.
in Manchester, we have a tax cap.
Well, Nashua does too. We have a spending cap.
Yeah, we have both a spending cap and a revenue cap. So we're restricted on both sides. And we, I think we implement the fee in Manchester as we speak. I think it's appropriate, given the circumstances that we face in the city. And state aid has not increased. We eliminated the $40 million in municipal aid out of the last budget.
We gave a lot of aid in different ways, though. We went up to 30%, almost doubling the meals and rentals.
But we right, yeah, and in Manchester, and we withdrew the 20 million on an annual basis that they were allowed to use for any purpose that they saw fit. And we've kept revenue sharing out of the budget for a long period of time, but it's not in the budget this year. And that was a deal that was cut in 1968 when the business profits tax was established. And we've suspended that on numerous occasions. So it seems to me this makes sense. And it is what it is.
Senator Hennessy, any thoughts? All right. We have a motion.
I move the item
Second.
as ought to pass.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. The motion fails 2-3. Is there an alternative?
Move inexpediency legislation.
Okay, ITL moved by Daniel, second by Hennessy. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay, 3-2, motion passes. Who wants to take it out? Okay, Senator Daniels will take it out. Obviously not on consent. No, it's obviously not on consent, yeah. All right, I think our sole remaining bill at this point is 313. It's not an FN, and there's still considerable work being done on an amendment. That's a bill that revamps the fee structure and is going to develop into two parts. One is a study committee, and the other is going to be revamping fees and the appropriations therefore for all the boards under OPLC. Director Courtney's done a lot of work on that bill. It's a fairly lengthy amendment as well, so that's in work. So we're going to, it's not an FN, we got some time to play with that. So I take a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Moved by D'Alessandro, second by Daniels. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, there being no further business before the committee, we are adjourned.